Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
All right, Rob Browne here with you on this cold Wednesday morning. A lot to talk about here. And we have got a great lineup today. Dudley Dawson, hogville.net, joins us in the first segment, followed by Doug Dean, AU Dawson, Birmingham, and Mr. Bill Hancock, chairman of the College Football Playoff Committee. They came out with their first rankings last night, so we'll be talking about that. There's a lot to break down and discern from that. Some teams don't like where they're ranked. Some teams do. I think Kirby Smart's probably loving this because he's able to say, hey, people weren't picking us. They don't have respect for us. He'll use that as a motivating tool. So watch out. The Missouri game is coming up Saturday in Athens. Our number 2 will be joined by Ben Troupe, ESPN Coastal over in Savannah, Georgia, and Billy Roberts over in Brookhaven, not Atlanta, talking all kind of SEC and Major League Baseball and just you name it, we'll be covering it. We do this 25 times a month, at least over 300 times a year. Sidelines. We're here. Follow us on Twitter at @sidelines_live. And we try to bring on the smart people that can answer all of the questions that are being asked by college football fans. But Dudley, I don't think it's just me, but I think everybody look at the interest in these rankings. And Bill Hancock will be on in about 25 minutes. With 4 teams, there's this much excitement. Wait till there's 12. Are we going to get something close? Now, there's, almost 3 times as many basketball schools eligible to make March Madness as there are the 133 to make the college football playoff. But I think this is a very smart move, and I think it's going to be a win-win in college football.
Yeah, I do like going to 12. Now, I don't know if it'll ever get to the excitement of March Madness. It is a thing unto itself. But I do believe that, it is really, really a time for it. 4 teams, it's proven to be a pretty good situation. But I think you add 12 in there and you keep the end of the season a little bit more exciting. And I think that when Mr. Hancock gets on, he can tell us, a little bit about things. But I do agree with you. Kirby Smart's going and playing the disrespect card, I'm sure, this morning because, they're playing in there. They don't play a good enough schedule or something to get up to number 1. If you just keep winning, you should be number 1 is the way I feel about it.
I totally agree with that one. And just winning takes care of everything, and people get all sidetracked with it. But here's a question. James Madison, this is their first or second year in D1, and I know they're 8-0, along with Liberty is 8-0, and Air Force is 8-0, because I keep up with my friend Tim Horton out there, and I'm really excited for them. He loves – they call it the submarine underground where they do all the the training and the workouts. But is James Madison – in the craziest, I got to ask this, though, they're eligible, aren't they? Because I thought I saw maybe they weren't eligible for bowls, or what is it that they're not eligible for the first 2 or 3 years?
I believe they're not eligible for the championship because of the transition to 1A. And, I did that the other day, and they've certainly played well this year, along with the other teams that you've mentioned. But, rules are rules, man. Be excited about it. Be excited about the season. Keep building your program. I don't think a lot of people, usually put James Madison and football in the same sentence, but we are doing that now. That's good for them, good for their publicity, good for their brand, as they say these days. But if the rules are the rules, that's what we got to go by.
No, I agree with you, and it's. I know James Madison started beating Virginia Tech and other schools. Their story is similar if you go back in the late 70s to what East Carolina did. I mean, 74 to 79. And I mean, Pat Dye went there and they were 48-18-1. And there was like a populist movement. And the Pirates started beating North Carolina and NC State and all these in-state schools. And next thing you know, East Carolina football has been a brand ever since then. James Madison, who's the coach up there? I don't know his name. I should know that off the top of my head, but I don't.
Well, we're going to find out in the next few minutes. I'll look, but and we're certainly going to find out down the stretch here because they've done enough to grab a little attention in the college football world, and I think it's good. Even though they're not going to be there for the playoffs, again, good for their brand. I hate to keep saying that, but that's the truth these days. That you have a brand to get attention and all that. Certainly, Colorado has proven this year, regardless of whether you're a great football team or not, you can be of great interest to a lot of people. I mean, the numbers that they get for a 12 o'clock game or a 9:30 game or anything, just you put Dion and his people on TV. His team on TV, and you've got a situation where people want to watch, kind of like my Dallas Cowboys. A lot of people want them to win, a lot of people want them to lose, and that's fine.
Well, the Notre Dame effect as well. I mean, people love to hate Notre Dame, they love to love Notre Dame, but most every Catholic friend I have, and I'm Scotch-Irish Episcopalian convert to Catholicism, but I didn't grow up pulling for Notre Dame. I've always been pulling for Auburn and the University of Memphis, and then I pull for these other schools when we're not playing them that are around us. But Notre Dame has a massive fan base. And again, the Cowboys, there's nothing like the Cowboys. You'd have to say, I talked to my friend Chef Roger and Nigel. They're both from Hereford, England, and Manchester, and one is Arsenal and one is Man United. And there's a big difference in those. But we think these college football and these pro football deals are big. Wow. Soccer. It's I was in Dublin one time when there was a soccer match coming up that Sunday night, and the people that were in town hitting all the pubs and all. I mean, Dudley, again, you're a soccer fan. You know it. What is it about it that it's very similar to college football, but it's a lot crazier?
Well, it's been around longer for one thing, and it's been driven into families, much like college football and other college sports, but even to a higher level. I watched a lot of documentaries on the birth of football / soccer, and the fervor which they go at it with. I've always said I'd like to go over there, see a Manchester United game, and get into a bar fight. Now, I'm going to have to there pretty quickly because it's 60. My fighting days are kind of over with. I can grab hold of somebody and tackle them maybe still, but I don't know about throwing too many punches. But I always thought that would be fun. We see so much of that, but yeah, there's a fervor that exists that is just unbelievable. That people go at it with that. And I mean, I like the singing songs part. The college football may have a fourth quarter song where everybody jumps around and all that, but they sing throughout. And I mean, it's coordinated. And I've always been very impressed with that. After I got into it, for a while I was with soccer. What in the world, But, the way I always take things is to pick a team, then learn a sport.
No, you're right. And, we're looking at the SEC schedule. Arkansas travels down to Florida this weekend. And already seeing Scott in Memphis. Are there any names on the list for Arkansas offensive coordinator? So I guess it's two things. Let's talk about the matchup Saturday. And you got Kenny Guyton, I think, is going to be calling the plays. What do you know about him? What's his background?
Well, obviously a former Ohio State quarterback. He has worked under Tom Herman, Kendall Browse. So he's been around some guys that have certainly put up offense, over the course of their careers. He's a very excitable young man. I can say that again since I'm 60. He's in his 30s. There's been a different feel around here. They haven't been just wandering around with like Charlie Browne after, Lucy pulls the football and all that. Yeah. They at least had their heads up. The bye week came at a great time. And, that's one of the reasons that Coach Pittman pulled the plug on Dan Enos at that time, was because he had the opportunity to get Kenny Guyton in there. They've gone through some mock scrimmages this past week, just to get him some experience. Why he hasn't called plays. He's been, as I said, he's been around those and shit. There's probably going to be what they've said is they basically cut the playbook down 30%. Enough things that they can't run well, just they might surprise a team. Get focused on what you can do well. Cut another 5% down. They said, after Sunday meetings. Looking forward to seeing it a little bit. KJ Jefferson has had a smile on his face, which has not been the case a lot this year. They're going to play more up tempo, and we saw when they do play up tempo, or when they play with some urgency, which is when they've fallen behind. Alabama and certain things like, certain games like that, that they seem to have more fun. And really at this point of the season, having fun will lead you to more success than, again, walking around with a dour attitude and woe is me. And the team is not supposed to be 2-6. How did this happen? Like the goal right now is just to win football games, which you should be, but you always want to win games with Stout. Now they just want to win games by 1 point. They want to go out and have some fun. And Kenny Guyton gets the opportunity to, put his name forth, for the next offensive coordinator. As far as candidates, there are plenty, I'm sure. But Coach Pittman, while he's getting calls and stuff, is really not talking about that. And I think that's a wise thing. You want your guy who's calling the place to know he still has the opportunity to be that guy next year. And you also, there are going to be a lot of guys who will change positions, by the end of the season. So the field of candidates is not really up to where it will be now. There'll be a lot more guys available at the end of the year. And I think one other thing I want to add, we've gone through this situation, and it appears that, Kendall Browse, once that move was made to TCU, whether he was pushed out the door or not by Coach Pittman, we can, argue left and right. But there was such a quick hire that maybe it was not the best fit, just a move in there. Certainly the defensive coaches that he hired have been a big hit. He took his time with that. It was pretty quick in January when Kendall Browse left as the OC. And, let's be honest, it just didn't work out. Dan Enos is a good coach. He's a good guy, although he let some things get to him this year. They just have to make this the right hire for sure, because everything depends on it next season.
Yeah. Dudley, if you can reboot, we're getting some clicking on the line. I don't know. And I think that might be, let's try that. And when you come back, want to get more into this matchup because, and while you're rebooting, Arkansas going on the road to Florida, not an easy place to play. But then what you got to worry about if you're Florida is we don't know what Arkansas is going to do. We have tape on them from their 2-6 start. But Dan Enos, and I thought he was a good coach. I thought it was a good hire. Dudley and I both did. It has been before. It didn't work out. So that's going to be a challenge for Florida coming off a 43-20 loss in Jacksonville to Georgia. So this gives Arkansas, the element of surprise. Kenny Guyton, young guy, the way, Dudley describes him. He's coached with Tom Herman. So we know that he knows a thing or two about how to score some points, whatever. But I don't think it's very easy at all on the team and everybody when you switch coordinators during the season. That's one of the toughest things that you'll ever have to deal with. And the fact, though, that, KJ Jefferson seems a lot happier. The players are having fun. They've got their excitement back. Because when you're on a sinking ship, a team that is losing, and you've got a coordinator that's just getting criticized from all quarters. Not that Sam Pittman, the head coach, isn't, but the offensive coordinator, fans typically, they go after the coordinators first. They're the decoys, they're the buffers before they go after the head coach. And that's a tough part about it. Look, want to do this. Let's take a quick commercial break. We're going to be right back with more on Sidelines. I want to say this, Red River Ford Toyota, Wynne, Arkansas, 45 minutes from Memphis. Keep this in mind. No vehicle payments until 2024. It is November 1st, the day after Halloween. So you buy a new vehicle, car, truck, or SUV today, no vehicle payment till January. All right. RedRiverFordToyota.com. They're great folks to deal with. Service department is open on Saturdays, 7 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. All right. If you have a vehicle you want to trade in, they'll work with you. They will be fair. You can get on the website and get a lot of this done, so much of the process done. If you connect everything, cross your T's, dot your I's, it'll take you about 20 minutes when you're on the phone with them or in person. You can be driving off the lot. Red River Ford Toyota, tons of vehicles in stock, brand new Ford and Toyota trucks, cars, and SUVs, and over 700 pre-owned vehicles on the lot. Okay. And ECS House Industries in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, the 99,000 square foot warehouse. They produce all kinds of agricultural equipment. You hear it every day on here. We're proud to have them as a sponsor. The aerators, I'm going to focus on that today. When you see catfish farms out there, the aerators are what make those possible. Catfish in a lot of areas is aquaculture. And, you're raising catfish in the Mississippi Delta and around the world. And they make those aerators right there, ECS House Industries. The better roller, the better chopper, the pulverizer, all this equipment that they make. Check them out on our website, ECSHouseIndustries.com. They're great to deal with. You will love Chad House, the whole crew there. It's about 55 employees. And what I love about him, last year, Christmas Eve, he puts out, this is my favorite time of the year. I get to write bonus checks to my employees. You got to love ECS House Industries. Contact them. Let them know you heard about them on Sidelines. All right. We'll take this quick break again from one of our sponsors in Nashville. We'll be right back with Dudley Dawson, Hogville.net.
Unbelievably, every 2 minutes in our communities, a child is either bought or sold for sex. I am Ari Dickey, board member for the Nashville Anti-Human Trafficking Coalition. Join me and millions of others in our fight against human trafficking and for its victims by helping to educate the most vulnerable among us, our middle and high school students. Go to nhtcoalition.org, become a partner, and help keep our families safe, because none of God's children are for sale.
Rob Browne here again. Dudley Dawson back on now. And Dudley, man, you've got the beautiful background, the ballpark. That is the prettiest baseball park in America. And that is, I guess it's a baseball park. It looks like it at Pebble Beach or somewhere, but
yeah,
it's gorgeous.
Something like that. Now, number 2, I think, is Appalachian State's ballpark, but that's an awesome one too that I've had up here before. But yeah, I think my computer was just telling me that I need to get in here a little bit earlier and warm it up and not just jump right into business.
Well, it may be sometimes they get cold, and when it's really cold, the internet will click a lot and stuff. So, and I don't know what causes that, but we got you right now, and let's talk about that matchup. I just said while you were rebooting, when we did the commercial breaks, that it's going to be tough for Florida. They don't know they know some of the tendencies for Arkansas, but this is an opportunity for Arkansas to wipe the slate clean.
Yeah, Billy Napier, who did a lot of recruiting here in Arkansas for the longest while he was an assistant coach. Has had some really good things to say about Arkansas, as every coach does each week, even if when they've struggled, he talks about the pieces that they have, they're just right there, all those things. But he did mention, that while they don't know exactly what Coach Guyton will call, they expect it to be something, similar to what Kendall Browse did that, KJ Jefferson was successful in. And I think that's that's something that we can certainly expect. More quick things, get him out of the pocket. I think we talked about this last week. They practiced stuff, according to Coach Pittman, when Dan Enos was calling the plays that were successful, that they knew they were going to call in the ball games, and then Coach Enos, according to Coach Pittman, would go into the ball game and not call those things, and so that certainly, was a bone of contention, and it's something that if you put yourself in position to be fired, whether you're successful or not, if you're not following orders, and that's what the thing is. We could talk about coaching staffs and all that, but blame and credit is going to start at the top and roll down from there. So I do think there'll be more quick hitting plays, some more up tempo. It'll get him out of the pocket more. It is strange to hear an offensive line guru say we just can't protect him, but that has been the case this year, and that's on plenty of people. That's on offensive line coach, offensive linemen, the running backs. Just everybody has not been, in a good state, flourishing like you thought they would be, and for the longest time they've just tried to do the same things. There have been games, LSU and Alabama in the second half, where you've seen life. I would expect to see some of those things. And that's what if I was Florida, that's what I'd be getting ready for. It's going to be interesting. They're having a salute to service down there. It's going to be the first time Florida's ever wore black uniforms. So Arkansas is walking into an atmosphere. I'm sure that they're glad they're walking into it at 11 a.m. instead of night, though.
Oh, yeah. The 11 a.m. game, I think, favors the visiting team, Dudley.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, certainly, because you don't have enough time to get spirited up. Let's be honest about that. Plus the, I think that if you've had the day to just get ready to go, and I'm talking as a player, I believe that, you're in a better mindset and all that. 11 a.m., you're not used to doing that. And coaches all the time say, yeah, we get up these few days before that. But I know full well I get up early to do this show. I don't get up at 7:30 every day. Being a sports writer, I don't get up at 7:30 every day because there ain't a lot going on at 7:30. In the sports world. So it's a condition thing, and Arkansas should be pretty used to it now, though, because I think this is the fourth 11 a.m. game or somewhere around there, 11 a.m. or noon game. So they should be pretty used to it now.
Yeah, in the 11 a.m. game, when things aren't going well, and every school goes through these kinds of seasons, it's like I call it the timeout game. And I just think about, Liz in Memphis. I'm a big fan of KJ and the Hogs. Who's not? I mean, KJ Jefferson came back for this year, could have gone to a lot of schools, but I've just noticed. I know he's getting all that NIL money. It doesn't matter. I mean, he wants to win. These guys, you can pay people a lot of money, but it's true. If money can solve it, it's not really a problem. He's going to me, I think now here's another question. Rocket Sanders. Let's talk about the health of the running back room. That will make a big difference. That started the beginning of the year, and it just mushroomed into more problems.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting there is he is back. He was rehabbing in Dallas, which is a strange thing, but that's how college sports works these days. Rehabbing in Dallas, he's back. He's been going through practice from all intents and purposes. He's going to play against his home state team there in Florida on Saturday. He's from Rockledge, Florida. It's been interesting. There's a pocket of the fan base that that has blamed KJ. And certainly he's not played as well as he wanted to. I think there are various reasons for that, but one of them is he's not played up to his capability, and I think he would tell you that. You can tell by his facial expressions how the season has gone. We've gotten a lot of pictures here lately of him rolling his eyes and all of that with the plays that have been sent in. And he's had some things to say about that on different radio shows and all that. I don't think having a nice car has kept him from playing well. I think it's been the offense. I think they tried to put a square peg in a round hole, and it just didn't work out, and it didn't work out spectacularly. This offense has really dropped off in every statistical category. So I understand the fan base. You go after the quarterback. There are a lot of people. If I hadn't Jacoby Criswell been playing well, I think he probably should have played a little bit, but calls for him starting and all that, I think, have been a little overboard. And then Rocket's gotten a lot of because of the Nick Smith situation, which we talked a lot about during basketball season when he wasn't playing and rehab in LA and all that. I think that has bled over a little bit into the Rocket Sanders. They're saying he's taking care of himself for the NFL. He's not, he's not going out there. Well, you don't go out there 100% these days, whether you're, whether you're a star or whatever. There's a fine line between injured and being hurt, but there's also a fine line in protecting your investment. And these days, that is what college football is. That's why these people started, jumping out of bowls and not playing in the bowls, which you never would have thought back in the day. You'd always finish with your team. It's a different situation, and especially when you're losing, fingers are pointed.
Well, last year, you remember Alabama, they for them, it was a rough season. They went 11-2, but Bryce Young and Will Anderson Jr. both played in the bowl game. And they struggled early, and that first half was a pretty close game against Kansas State. And then they wore them out like 45-20 for the final score. I hope that set a precedent because, you can get hurt as a fan driving your car to the game. You could be in a wreck. You could get drunk and fall off the curb and roll your ankle or break your leg. You can get in a fight. I mean, anything can happen. If you play scared, probably going to get hurt waiting for the other shoe to drop. And I'm saying, guys have always had money on the line. Man, when I was in college with Bo Jackson there, he stayed the whole time. I mean, and, I think he said something like, I hadn't had any money my whole life. I mean, it's another year. And also, I think that the agents today, they don't really, I don't know. I'm not even going to get started on that. But KJ Jefferson has so much that if he closes out these next 4 games with wins, that'd be great because they'd go to a bowl. But the way he finishes is the way he will be remembered for the rest of his life.
Yeah, and I will tell you this, and I know him well enough. Back when I would drive over there near Memphis to go to Sardis, Mississippi, to watch him play, and have had a pretty good relationship with him since he's been up here. We've done a lot of things outside of the realm of media and player in terms of what the university is usually allowed. And I would tell you that anybody who's sitting here thinking they care more about winning or they care, it doesn't hurt him losing is just not right. I mean, the young man he cares and it hurts him. And it hurts him while he's driving in a nice car. But when did we get upset about people having success and being able to enjoy the fruits of their labor or all that? I don't quite get that. I've never been one of those guys. And, I know losing sucks for everybody, but it's just don't point fingers.
Yeah. Well, it's like when people have money and everybody wants to attack them. This is America, the home of the free, land of the brave, home of the free. Home of the brave, land of the free, however you want to say it. But there are a lot of people. Marxism is rooted in resentment of those who achieve greatness without the help of the government. You see how that works out everywhere. You have to, build walls to keep people in. It will never work. More power to KJ. What I guess in my wealth management practice is people have money, just, act like, hey, don't let it change you. But I'm happy for him because make it while you can. And the average NFL career isn't but about maybe 4 or 5 years. I mean, so many of the people that I know that played in the NFL, and you do too, they lasted about 5 years. Mm-hmm. What happened? They'll say, well, somebody bigger, stronger, faster came along or whatever. And, KJ Jefferson's going to get his shot in the NFL. And, Nick Saban said there's 2 conversations you have with the scouts. There's the, KJ's a great player, and he's always the first one at practice. He's always helping his teammates. He's at church regularly. He's a great leader. He does a lot of stuff here in town to help other people, not as fortunate as he is. But he doesn't play small to make other people around him feel less uncomfortable. That's what I love most about him. Then there's that conversation. They say, but he misses a lot of workouts, or but he sleeps in late, talk about anybody.
Yeah.
He's
that's
not
been one of the things with KJ for sure.
No. I'm saying
But one of the things I was going to say, Coach Pittman in his Monday press conference, I believe it was Monday, it could have been, what's today? Today's Wednesday. Yeah. His Monday press conference talked about how KJ's even been a better leader this week because, he's got a new lease on life. The new offensive coordinator, he knows he's not going to go in with a game plan that maybe he hadn't been 100% on. Nobody else has been 100% on it either. So I don't know why you would get upset at KJ, but he's been a better leader this week, according to Coach Pittman. And we all know what that means. He's walked around with a smile instead of rolling his eyes at what they're doing. And he's excited about it. The team's excited about it. They could go down there and get beat 50-0 in Florida. I don't think that's going to happen because, I think it's going to end up being a pretty close ball game. Florida has some issues of its own. Obviously, it's better than Arkansas, but has some issues of its own. And it's going to be one of those things that I think they're going to play with some excitement, but we'll see how it goes from there.
Yeah. Mr. Bill Hancock, chairman of the College Football Playoff Committee, joins us right now from out there in the bunker in Dallas-Fort Worth. As Ken Capps and Bo Carter are on every Friday, the Texas duo. We call it the Metroplex. But, man, this is one of the most interesting people in sports. And talking to you at SEC Media Days in Nashville, 19 years you were on the college basketball committee. So no stranger to putting all this stuff together. But first off, thank you so much for taking time out of your morning to share with our viewers and listeners. This is Dudley Dawson up in Springdale, hogville.net. And Doug Dean will be joining us here in just a minute from Birmingham. But love having you on. And certainly nobody's upset about where their team was ranked. Everybody's happy. So nothing to see here. Let's keep driving along. It's a fun job, isn't it? Oh, you're on mute. Yeah, you hit the mute button somehow. Sorry. Whoops. I can't hear you. Undo the mute button. Okay. You there? It's somehow hitting the mute button. Okay. He should be. Dudley, let's see if that's working. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, definitely working.
Yeah. Okay. It's not. It's unmute the mic. Okay. There we go. Okay. Keep Mr. Hancock. Go ahead and see if we can hear you now. Okay. Might want to. Let's see. Dudley, keep talking here. We lost his. We had him there.
Best laid plans of mice and men, right? Yeah. And we certainly want to hear what he has to say because he's been great for college sports over the years. I've been able to talk to him a little bit over the years. Certainly an exciting jobs that he's had, when it comes to giving us great championships and all that. So, yes, we want to get that mute button off working. You can see the frustration. Yeah. You there? You want to try to reboot Mr. Hancock and then come back on, and that may be it. It's muted right now. Let's see. Hit that button. But no, I'm excited to hear what he's got to say because I think Georgia's excited about, Kirby is at least, about being number 2 in the rankings. You there? Oops. Okay. We'll get him back on. Okay. Reboot now. I'm kind of interested in, maybe we can talk to him here in a minute. This whole Spygate thing, nothing ever gets adjudicated quick enough to for everybody's liking, but that's kind of a lingering out there. What's going to happen, with Coach Harbaugh and that situation? Stuff keeps coming out every day, and I know Michigan doesn't want to hear it, but it's one of the big stories in college football right now that's kind of overshadowing their season, and they've had a fantastic season. So kind of interesting. I guess you can't play that. A computer doesn't factor that in, but it is something else that you go through a season like they're having, and I think there are four 4 teams that have established themselves as the 4 that should be in those 4 spots, and that's who were. There's several others that available.
Yeah, Mr. Bill, you there? Okay. Yeah, this is strange why this isn't working.
Should I drop off for a second, see if it works?
Yeah, let's see. Dudley, drop off for a second. I'm gonna take off, maybe see what happened here. All right, can you hear us now? Okay, you can hear us, but it's a muted. The mic is muted on your part. That for some reason it's not coming through. But wow, let's do this. We're gonna take a quick break. We're gonna be right back on here, Mr. Hancock, and we'll get this thing fixed. Hang on one. Yeah, okay, we'll do that. We'll be right back with you in just a second. Okay, Rob Browne back here with you. We're going to be trying to work through these technical issues and don't really know exactly what happened. Let's see. And, the marvel of modern technology. And, Dudley Dawson, be right back with us as well, hogville.net. And just having a problem with hearing him on his end. I don't know if it's the mic muted or whatever, but those CFP rankings, you look at Ohio State number 1. This is what you love about college football. I mean, it is so much fun to have, and it's just an issue when you look at, holy cow, 4 teams make the playoff. Right now, it's Ohio State, Georgia, Michigan, and Florida State. Those are your 4 teams. And what I love about it is the fans just absolutely, this is what gets people really fired up about college football. And I'm looking here, at these rankings. When we go and we look at the rankings, Mr. Bill, can you hear us now? Yeah. Okay. You can hear us, but we can't hear you. Okay. Yeah. Let's do this. Why don't we, if you can he call in? Any way he can call in? It's a link to his computer. Yeah. You want us to send it? We can send the link to your phone if you want us to do that. Yeah, okay, we'll do that. We'll send the link to okay. All right, we're going to send the link to you right now, and that way it'll work. And we're just going to have you. I'll take you off for a second, Mr. Hancock, and then when you come back, we'll have you go through your phone, and it'll work fine. Give us just a second. It's coming to you right now. It'll come to the link that I use. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I'll tell you one thing, Dudley. I don't know if he's in a hotel or not, but I know sometimes when we're in hotels, we are unable to communicate. In fact, we did it with Bill Hancock up in Nashville at the Grand Hyatt at SEC Media Days. Will Gunter from the game 107.5 over in Columbia, South Carolina, and I were on with Bill Hancock, and we had thunder and lightning. And it was crazy. We were going in and out. And there were a couple of lightning bolts there early in the morning, but you get into a hotel, it can be a little bit a little bit crazy. But
yeah, while we're waiting on him to get back up, Matt in Osceola here has talked about Arkansas football recruiting. We can talk about that a little bit. Obviously, as I've stated before, they've gotten more 4-stars than usual. Certainly, some type of record for the amount of time that they've done that. Nobody has gotten off the recruiting list yet, even with the 2-6 season. If that continues, they should, have a pretty good deal. And I think, a lot of that will factor into any kind of decision that's made at the end of the year or close to the end of the year as we are getting now. In terms of where the program is going to go forward, the 2-6 is certainly the overall thing, but the recruiting has gone well. You only know when they get here and go through it and how they turn out. We talk about Rocket Sanders being a great running back. He was going to be a wide receiver when he first came here. Some of these things you don't know about, how they're going to play themselves out. But recruiting has gone well. And, I think they're really happy with that, and they're happy with the reception that they've gotten, even going 2-6 at this time.
Well, the thing about making a change during the season, that's the toughest part about it. But it's like when you switch a quarterback during a game, that can be really difficult to
unless you're Nick Saban.
Yeah.
Which played out really well for him in the championship game.
Yeah. And you go back to the 2001 LSU in Tennessee. Rohan Davey goes out, Matt Malk comes in. Tennessee, this is an advantage for Tennessee. Not that you want anybody to ever get hurt, because I don't. Never have, never will. But it changed the way that they played them completely. And I'm just saying that, the worst thing that can happen is to have a bad hire. It's not working out, and you just keep the guy on the staff, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. And then everybody ends up losing their job. But unfortunately, coordinators are the first are the first ones to go. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that, I believe that, pretty much everybody understands what was going on here and why that needed to happen.
Yeah. Bill, can you hear us? Okay. I know we had him there right at the beginning. Okay. Okay. So, I'm just looking at what's going on in college football. I just think the interest is there. I think fans love this. They love, like it or not, they love the controversy. They love everything that comes with it.
Well, this fan base, this Arkansas fan base, football fan base, is certainly not apathetic. That's the key thing right now. If you got the apathetic, then the decision makes itself. I do think this was the most excited the fan base has ever been for an exhibition basketball game win last Saturday against Purdue. Really good basketball game. And it was March Madness feel, but that helped the football fan base a little bit.
Yeah. And Doug Dean's on with us in Birmingham, Dudley. And Doug, we're hoping we sent another link to Bill Hancock. I'm not sure what hotel he's in, but I know when I was at the SEC Media Days, we were staying at the Grand Hyatt where all the meetings were, and we had Bill Hancock on, and a big thunderstorm came through during the show, and these bolts of lightning and flashes were coming in, and it was really, really crazy. And I can see him. He could hear us at the beginning, but somehow we lost the audio connection. I'm about to I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it's not the Motel 6.
Yeah, no, it's no. And Doug, I don't know what Doug. Let's see if we can hear you.
Are you there?
Yeah, we can hear somebody.
Well, I was watching Bill. God bless him, man. He was giving max effort to try to figure it out, and he's just a class act. I hope somehow rejoin and it works, because I've got several questions for you. Want to hear one I would ask Bill?
Yeah.
So we've all seen these actual trials or Hollywood portrayed jury trials, and there's almost always a moment where the certain evidence is considered inadmissible, but one or the other attorneys blurts it out anyway, and the judge will say, I am instructing you as jurors to eradicate that from your mind, that you never heard it. And of course, that's like, don't look at that apple, no matter what. Look at that apple. Do not think about it. So what do I mean by all this metaphor? I think that the committee, I'm sure, is being told in regard to Michigan and Spygate, signal stealing gate, that they're not consider that in the rankings because it's just an allegation right now.
Yeah.
And
Bill Hancock, can you hear us now?
Do what?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Okay. Sorry. There we go. I think it was just something to do with the laptop. I really apologize for that. And that's why we sent the link. Sometimes we've been having some problems today. I don't know what it is, but you use a laptop. If you're in a hotel, it could be anything, but you're on your phone now. I've got Doug Dean over in Birmingham, the AU Dose, and Dudley Dawson, hogville.net. And again, appreciate your patience with us, man. I know you're a very busy man, but let's hear about the rankings you came out with last night and how you got there. And we got a lot of questions from a lot of listeners.
And we used up most of our time when we were fiddling with the technology. Yeah. So I don't have a whole lot of time, but it's good to see you guys again. Is that Dudley that looks like he's at Pebble Beach or where?
Yes.
Yeah. Dang, why don't we all go there and do the show from there?
I'm telling you.
I agree.
So yeah, rankings, really good committee meeting. Great to have everybody back together again. And you saw the rankings. We feel good about it.
Yeah. Doug?
Mr. Hancock, first of all, and I'm in Birmingham, Alabama, but I've admired your leadership and work for a long time now. And it's probably not an enviable job in some ways, because you're going to have people that get mad at you every year. Honestly, over the years, there have been very few years that, if I'm fair, I consider that they were egregiously left someone out, as hard as that can be. If you go all the way back to 2004, there's probably a bunch of Auburn people that felt like that wasn't fair. But that's just bad luck. You had 3 undefeated teams, right?
Well, there's two parts of athletics where you can't please everybody. One is rankings, like ours, and the other one is officiating.
To get to my point, my question with our limited time, that there's a notion of, I would assume that in the case of Michigan, that since it's merely an allegation as we sit, it's being investigated, and that's likely to follow the actual selections for the 14 playoff, that the committee members either will or have already been instructed that they are to look at on-the-field performance only. But if that's the case, how do you get that reality out of a committee member's head when they're ranking them?
Well, you're right. It is only an allegation. I think we all tend to jump on things before we know the truth in many cases. But furthermore, and the bigger point with our committee is that we are not a governance body. We're not a regulatory body. All we do is rank the teams that are eligible for postseason. And if you're not eligible for postseason, we don't rank you. But if you are, we do. And so to the matter of whether what happened, what may or may not have happened with the signs may have affected Michigan's performance this year, that part is something the committee would think about. And the fact of the matter is, we just don't know. No one knows. And it's not hard for the committee to look at a team and what they did on the field. And that is 100% of what the committee did yesterday and Monday. Just rank the teams based on what they did on the field.
Yeah. Dudley?
Quick follow-up question on the criteria. Maybe it's published and I just haven't seen it, but is there a scenario in which a one-loss team could be viewed as stronger and actually leapfrog an undefeated team purely based on, I guess, strength of schedule?
Yeah, I mean, there's a chance that a one-loss team could finish higher than an undefeated team. I don't believe that's happened. Well, it has happened, but the undefeated team was kind of way down the list. But the answer is no, not purely based on strength of schedule. the committee looks at many aspects of every team, head-to-head, strength of schedule. Eventually, did they win their conference championship? What about what the committee saw by watching games and has seen by watching games all season? Absolutely, that's a factor. So there are many factors that the committee considers, one of which is strength of schedule.
Obviously, Georgia has been, dominant program. I'm sure that Kirby Smart is excited about being number 2 because he can, play the no respect card. But talk a little bit about what they put them in number 2 and had a team above them after all the wins that they've had.
Well, clearly a very good team. But as the committee looked through what the teams had done this season, nobody else had the 2 victories like Ohio State had over Notre Dame and Penn State. That was a difference maker.
And we're all excited about going to 12. Just talk about the excitement maybe y'all have, and I mean it's going to be even tougher. I assume getting 12 the right 12 teams as it is the right 4. But just talk a little bit about the excitement of expanding the playoffs.
Yeah, we feel great about it. More participation will make college football even more popular. And how about that statement? As popular as the game is, we think it'll be even more popular once we go to 12. A couple of things on the 12. Remember that it is the top 6 ranked conference champions, and then the highest ranked 6 at-large teams. The top 4 ranked conference champions will get byes, and then number 12 seed will play at number 5 seed, etc. In the first round. It's a terrific format, and we're really looking forward to getting started on it.
So, Mr. Hancock, on the 12-team playoff, it's not. Am I right that when you have the final rankings following the season, fans can't necessarily take those top 12 and sort of assume it by hypothetical that would be the 12-team playoff if it were 2024. Does that make sense to you?
Well, yeah, that's right. It's remember the top 6 ranked conference champions, and then 6 at-large teams. And we looked at it for the last 20 years. There were some years when one of the top 6 conference champions was ranked, 18. As it happened last year, on the other hand, all the 12 would have been in. That's just the way it came out, because Tulane, I think, was ranked number 12. Mm-hmm. So top 6 conference champions, no automatic berths to any conference. Your champion has to prove it during the season every year. But yeah, we could have a situation where a number 18 or so conference champion is in, and the number 12 team is not.
And just testing that, if you will, that could mean, I'm not trying to make your job difficult. It's already tough enough. But that could mean this year, hypothetically, let's say Georgia runs a table regular season and they have a very close loss to let's say a 2-loss LSU. Theoretically, Georgia's not the conference champion as we define it, the championship game. They could be left out of it. Not likely, but they could be left out of a 12-team playoff.
Well, in that circumstance, then you would look and see if Georgia is one of the next 6 best at-large teams. So you can either get in as a conference champion or you get in at large.
There you go. Okay, well, then that's going to put the committee in an uncomfortable position a lot of years of having as many as 3 SEC teams.
That one thing is certainly about the CFP now. There's no limit on the number of teams from a conference, and there won't be in the 12-team tournament either.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Here's another question I've got. James Madison, there's 133 D1 schools out there now, and they're 8-0. Liberty's 8-0. Air Force, my friend Tim Horton coaches running backs out there. Love him and his father, Harold. But that's exciting. I mean, you did 19 years on the basketball committee. My son lives in Charlotte. He's an Auburn grad. He said, Dad, college football this year is so exciting. It's like March Madness opening weekend every Saturday. So, number one, you're doing a fantastic job. Again, sorry about the technical issues. I hope you'll come back on with this, but let's talk about that James Madison story right there. That's kind of like San Diego State and Florida Atlantic in the Final Four last year. I was loving it.
Oh yeah, college football, as I said a minute ago, it's so exciting already, and it's fixing to get more exciting. I will talk about James Madison. Remember, they're not eligible for postseason under the NCAA, so that's why we are not ranking them.
Yeah, because they were in the ranking, weren't they? In the rankings. I mean, they can be ranked, but they can't be eligible. Okay, that's what it is. Okay, yeah. Dudley, Doug, y'all ask another one. You got another.
Go ahead, Dudley.
As you look at how the season will break down here before the end, I guess a lot of these things kind of take care of themselves with big games down the stretch. But just talk a little bit about getting the first rankings out and then how it goes from there to what you have in the finality of things.
Yeah, we do 5 rankings before the ultimate selection day ranking. You may be curious why we do that. We do it for a couple of reasons. First of all, it really makes sure that the committee has evaluated every detail of every team by the time we get to selection weekend. So letting them have 5 looks at it is very helpful. And also it helps the fans to understand that, well, if we didn't have weekly rankings and we just sort of parachuted out of the sky with rankings on selection day, the fans during the weeks ahead of it would be thinking, oh, these coaches' rankings, they must be the bad. They must be the real rankings, or the AP ranking, or whatever else. USA Today, not that bad example, because that's the coaches' rankings. But they would think some other rankings were the real rankings. And we think it's important for the public to understand how the committee is thinking. So that's why we do the five looks at it before selection day.
We also have a question from Bubba in Tuscaloosa. It says, if Alabama wins out, will they make the CFP? Well, you just don't know, I guess. But it would help them for sure, wouldn't it?
Well, hey, Bubba, I would tell you, Original Dreamland is one of my top 4 restaurants in the world. So, and they didn't give me any free ribs or free banana pudding to say that either. But now I got all excited about Dreamland. I forgot Bubba's question. No, I didn't. I didn't really. But no one knows. No one knows. Stand by.
Yeah. Listen, I mean, I know you got a tight schedule. Thank you so much for taking time out with us. I want to get you back on again, but you got a great job. It's a fun job, isn't it? And I hope you never retire.
Oh my goodness, I have the best job in America other than yours.
Yeah, that is right, man. Well, look, hey,
y'all
thank
take
you
care.
So much. Okay,
all right.
You do too. Appreciate your patience. Love having him on here and getting on. Bottom line, we worked through some technical issues. Nothing like the internet and all like that. I know he's got probably a million interviews stacked up like flights lined up at LaGuardia 5:00 on a Friday afternoon. But first off, thanks both of y'all. Great questions. True grit journalism on fire on Sidelines.
By the way, Rob, Curt Cignetti, the head coach at James Madison. Let's give him some credit, I guess.
Yeah, James. Well, Curt Cignetti's the coach, Doug.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I had to ask that question about James Madison because this is only year 2 or year 3 for them. But that's the kind of stuff I think a 12-team playoff, when they're eligible, their fan base will go insane, Doug.
Yeah, and, you know, I will say, and Mr. Hancock is smooth, isn't he, guys? He answers. He doesn't sound politically correct the way he answers. But if you peel the onion back, it is very politically correct after all. And I think part of that is the architecture of how they build this. And, you know, it's easy to beat up the selection committee. But I don't know about you guys, but I was ecstatic when we finally got a BCS, a real championship game instead of the beauty contest of AP and UPI. And then I was even more ecstatic when it expanded to 4. And I need to take some calming medication when we go to 12-team playoff because, you know, let's face it, you will have minimal, if any, excuses if your team doesn't make the 12-team playoff. But I will say the one thing that makes me uncomfortable, there's a scenario, guys, in which the SEC comes to mind. You get a 3-loss conference champion in the playoff because of that automatic rule. Am I missing something?
Dudley?
No, I know. I think that's right. They're going to play it. It'll play itself out. The thing is, you can win the conference championship in a regular season, I guess, but it's going to depend on the bowl and rankings at the end. I also wanted to point out I'm fascinated by Cignetti. Now, his dad was one of the first people to hire Nick Saban, apparently. So, and then Kurt Cignetti once was an assistant coach under Nick Saban at Alabama. So he's got some bloodlines there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Big Ben Troupe, Gentle Ben down there, we were just talking to Bill Hancock, chairman of the College Football Playoff Committee, had some technical issues. I know sometimes when you're broadcasting from a hotel and there's a million other people in there crashing that web, but I tell you, y'all are not lawyers, but Doug and Dudley, you'd be phenomenal lawyers. I've been in, I'm telling you, your questions were great. And Bubba in Tuscaloosa, hey, this is what we love about college football, guys. I mean, isn't it the fact that if Bama wins out and they're the number 5 team on the outside, how pissed off are people going to be who pull for Alabama? Welcome to Auburn's world in 2004.
I'm an Auburn guy, and if I want to be objective for a minute, I would be royally pissed off because I mean, let's presume that would mean who would be ahead of them? Only undefeated teams, Rob. Michigan, let's say Michigan beats Ohio State. Florida State stays undefeated, which is likely, I would guess. Washington stays undefeated. And then who would be the 4th undefeated that knocks Alabama out?
I don't know. Ben, you want to take as they say in the upper Midwest, a gander at that one?
I don't know if it'll be another undefeated. I think what shakes everything's up, I don't know where they are, and I don't know how many games they've lost, but maybe like a Notre Dame if they only have one loss. But that's something that I want to see, though. Like, the thing about Alabama, Nick Saban sits back and said, "Okay, I want to see y'all keep us out. Like, I want to see it. It could happen. I'm not saying I'm not,
And if Rob, I just had a moment of clarity. It is not going to happen, Rob. If Alabama runs the table, that would mean most likely beating possibly an undefeated or one-loss Georgia and being the SEC. They're not leaving the SEC champion out of 4. That ain't happening. Some undefeated loser or unfortunate victim would get leapfrogged. Now, they might make that, in that scenario, Alabama might be the 3rd or 4th team selected, but they won't care. They won't care.
Look over my shoulder. See, I'm pointing at my map Barnwood Brenda made for me, carved it out of Cyprus, the SEC. Already, the biggest thing on that map, maybe it's the color orange, is Texas. Gentlemen, ladies, and there ain't nothing in between. What happens if Texas wins out, Dudley? I know you know Texas people. They're humble. They never brag. They never boast. They never get excited. What are they going to do if they win out and say, "Well, we beat Bama"?
Well, they certainly would have a shot to talk about it, and goodness knows they would. And we certainly would hear Texas is back, which is, and don't you know that Mr. McConaughey would love to be involved in that?
Hey, Rob, I talked about bias, and of course, you'll never hear a selection committee member acknowledge what is factual, that we all bring biases to the table. You can't eradicate them. So one of them I'm intrigued by, which will not make Seminole fans happy if I'm right, is in the back of the mind of a committee member, do they factor in a close call rank? Sometimes we may get a ranking that's really not a close call. The 4 teams are obvious. That could happen. But do they factor in the political pressure of the SEC, the Big Ten, I guess the Big 12, but not so much the Pac-12 anymore, and not so much the ACC, if Florida State is on the bubble, if you will, between them and let's say an undefeated Washington, does the fact of which conference wields a bigger stick with the committee factor in, since the ACC is about to assume room temperature? I don't know.
Ben, we want to take a shot at that? I mean, Big Ben is a Gator for life. Do y'all call them GFLs?
I think any other year, I think Florida State would have had a shot to get in. The Pac-12, we don't want to give it credit, but the Deion Sanders factor got more people watching out west. He got more people looking. And the more eyes you get, the more people going to say, okay, let's see what's going to end. Quarterback play. I just think that Florida State is going to not benefit from Clemson being subpar. That's going to hurt them because you got to have at least two teams, right? Alabama's always going to have a Georgia to say, oh, I got two really, really good teams. LSU can jump in there for a year. Auburn can jump in there for a year. I always say this. If people can't tell you the physical location of your school, that's going to be rough. Where does Washington play? People going to say, Washington. No. Where do they play at? I don't know where they play at. That kind of stuff matters, right? And people don't think it does, but the college football playoff is for college enthusiasts and just a casual onlooker. So if someone says that we got Washington versus Florida State, they're going to say, oh, you're talking about the Commanders? No, we're talking about the state of Washington. That I didn't think that kind of stuff mattered, but it does. Like last year with TCU. Where's TCU at in Texas? Where?
Fort Worth.
I don't know where it is. That kind of stuff matters because let's call it what it really is. What I would have told every time I sit down with Mr. Hancock, I ask him the same thing. I used to say, when we going to 8 teams, when we going to 12 teams, and I go, why can't the College Football Playoff Committee tell us how they voted and why they did it? Why is that such the biggest mystery in college football? Don't show us who's in the room. Show me why they voted. This is how you know it don't matter. A couple of years ago, BYU, they got Zach Wilson, they undefeated, they go to Coastal Carolina and they lose. They did not move up or down in the rankings. You know why? Because no one cares about Coastal Carolina. So when we get to talk about how they pick, we don't know how they pick. But who don't know about Alabama? Who don't know about Georgia? Who don't know about Florida State? Who can't stand these Texas fans that think they got this rich tradition? Now they do, but not the way they think. Mac Browne is the all-time winners coach of Texas and North Carolina, and he's back in North Carolina right now. I think with the College Football Playoff Committee, if they do it the way it's supposed to do it, a team out west going to be in there. But if they do it how they normally do it, man, I can see an undefeated Pac-12 team not get in because they will penalize them for what happened. Because, when you got to meet Alabama, meet Georgia, or these South teams for one game, you could get embarrassed. That don't mean you weren't good enough to be there. But for one game, you can't judge a full season. I hope they do it the right way because like I said, you know who's laughing at all of us? Greg Sankey. He goes, hey, y'all can have 2023. Because when we go to 12, I'm getting 6. I'm going to get 6 teams because now the Vanderbilts of the world get to say, hey, remember them bottom dwellers, the bottom of the conference. Now it's going to be who has the best, worst teams in their conference to elevate the top. So now them teams are going to matter moving forward. But I hope that a Pac-12 team gets in because they've earned it. Michael Penix Jr. is rock solid. I mean, I don't know I know that Bo Nix, when he left Auburn and went to Dan Lanning, knew I got to get me somebody from my neck of the woods to help me run this offense. But I hope they put a Pac-12 team in. I hope they don't penalize Florida State because of what Clemson isn't doing this year. I know Dabo Swinney, life is real different when you ain't got Trevor Lawrence or Deshaun Watson. Life is very different. But no matter what, they're going to have to deal with it. If Alabama beats Georgia and Georgia has one loss, Alabama gets in, may God help that team. Because I'm telling you, when Alabama lost to Texas, people just wrote Alabama off. This might be Nick Saban's best coaching year because he don't got a Tua or Mac Jones, whatever, or Bryce Young. But I hope they do it the right way, put a Pac-12 team in because everybody wants the big bad SEC. Everybody, I want to play them. All right. And then when you get them, TCU, may God bless them. If they never ever go to a national championship again, LaDainian Thomas and Andy Dalton, like, man, what the hell am I doing here, man? Why am I on this sideline? I should have stayed home and watched it.
Yeah.
But I hope they do the right thing only because it's not fair to these players who you're in the P5 for a reason. You shouldn't get penalized because of your geographic location. If you get it done, you get it done. If I lose in the college football playoff, hey man, so be it. But don't knock me because I'm not your cup of tea.
Yeah, hold that thought, Dudley. I know you've got to check out and catch a flight or something, but love having you on here. Let people know. And Doug, stay with us if you can. Let them know how they can follow you and keep up with all your great work at hogville.net.
Well, hogville.net is our website. We're covering everything under the sun right now. And Fearless Friday, I've got some great high school games that I'm writing about this week as well. That some great players are on, and looking forward to that. And on that note, I'll just say, all right, I'm out.
And I talked to Troupe Keeter. Appreciate your help that you've given him. Mills has got a pretty good team, but we'll do it again next week. Okay.
All right, sounds good, bud.
All right, you bet. All right. I saw a T-shirt, Doug and Ben, that's in the burnt orange and white of Texas colors. It says, all right. Who could that be, Doug Dean?
Yeah, the great Matthew McConaughey, who's going to bring a lot of color to SEC games going forward. He was prominent on that Alabama game sideline. So, Ben, the two most triggering words in this whole selection process? See if you can guess.
The two most triggering words?
The most triggering words. I'll help you. Eye test. Please stop with the eye test. Rob, let me apply the eye. When Auburn played Samford, the eye test told me that we were going to have a lethal passing attack, right?
Mm-hmm.
That did not age too well, at least not until first half against State last Saturday. And of course, Michigan's really passing some eye tests right now. I'll set aside the question of, stealing signals and how that will play out. But Michigan hasn't played anybody. And, now when they do play Ohio State, I'll value the eye test then. If they can win that one, I don't care how they win it, then they get full credit. But I wish the committee would cease and desist with this, bailout rule that if you're predisposed to put someone in the 4 teams, you can always resort to the proverbial eye test.
Yeah.
No, I agree, because let's call it what it is too. They don't know what they're looking at, or they look, or eye test means something different for everybody. Certain people looking for certain things, they'll cut the TV off. Certain people watch the whole game. I know people who only watch the O-line. They go, I'm just looking at O-line play. I can tell you who won or lost based off O-line play. That's all they – so I think the thing about the College Football Playoff Committee is, I'm sorry, but I need to know what these credentials are. I need to know what got you in this room. I need to know how you got in this room, and do you – because they're going to have some commissioner or some AD from some school in some conference. I get that part. And I expect, if you represent a certain conference, do I expect you to fight for that conference? Yes. But what are you fighting for? The resume of your school has to matter. Undefeated in one conference ain't the same in another. I get that part, but undefeated got to mean something, because it is the hardest thing to do in sports. I don't care what level it is. So you have to reward undefeated. And don't get, because every year somebody can say, well, who do they play? Who do they play? Who do they play? Yeah. Okay. They beat everybody they played. That's what they did. Who was on the schedule, they beat them. Now, strength of schedule does come into play, but you need more from the teams that you beat than the team. You need them teams that, you thought was going to have a better year. No one could have told me that right now Clemson would be 4-4, even if they don't got a big-time quarterback, but they are. No one would have told me that North Carolina would have two or three losses already. But I think the thing about college football is it's either the whole map or just cut one part of the map off. Just say, hey, man, once we get to like Ohio, man, we just, that's it. We don't really go past, because that's what you're really saying. Some of these teams get in because of tradition and brand awareness. That's what Ohio State is a huge brand. Michigan, huge brand. Texas, Oklahoma, huge brand. Oregon, they got Nike. They're not a huge brand. They got see, some of these brands thinking, hey, man, are you a big brand where you are, or are you a big brand nationally? And I think if you don't think that plays to the college football playoff, you are lying. To TCU last year, I don't know what happened. They were just a feel-good story, because they was like, hey, man, what's going on with the Big 12? Well, we got this TCU school. They're doing real well. Okay. Well, do they play Texas and Oklahoma? Yeah. Oh, okay. But I think now, hopefully, that's why, even though we talking about the ACC, the Pac-12, I mean, my goodness, they can't keep nobody in that conference either, because Deion Sanders and them guys let them know. Deion said, remember everybody had something to say about us going over to the Pac-12? Where they going? They ain't staying either. I mean, going over to the Big 12, I'm sorry. So it's always it's not a perfect science. If they put us all on the college football playoff committee, and people thinking we ain't coming in there with SEC colored eyes, we are. But at least that argument is valid. That argument is like the fourth best team in the SEC could beat some of these other teams that are undefeated for one game. I'm talking about just for one, but resume has to matter. And for everybody who says who has the best winning formula in college football, it's Notre Dame. That's why they don't want to be in no conference. I don't want to deal with that. They know our regular season, if we have one loss or we undefeated, we got a chance to get in because we ain't got no playoff game. And listen, I'm going to say this to my college fans. The best brand in football might be Alabama, Georgia. The biggest brand is Notre Dame. You don't got to like. I don't like it. I can't stand it. But when college football say, hey, Notre Dame, y'all better honor y'all contract. No, we got touchdown Jesus. We do what we want to do. You don't tell us what. No, we can stand on our resume and our tradition and our merit, and that's what makes them different than every other school. Every other school, you need your conference. I mean, you just do. I don't know what that's going to mean moving forward. Like, because let me tell you something. Greg Sankey, people say he don't want no more schools. If you think Notre Dame called Greg Sankey, we want to be the SEC, they're going to put him in there right now, even though he ain't going to get that call. But I'm looking forward to the college football playoff. And to the Georgia fans out there who mad that Georgia ain't ranked number one in the college football playoff, it don't matter. It don't matter right now. They control their own destiny moving forward. But I'm telling you this, with these games coming up for a Georgia team, like a Ole Miss or Mizzou or Tennessee on the road, if they do the unthinkable and lose, and then they got to meet up Alabama or LSU in the SEC championship, because what people ain't talking about is LSU.
Yeah.
LSU beats Alabama, go back to Atlanta, and they beat a one-loss Georgia team. I don't know, man. I mean, but I'm looking forward to seeing how it all plays out, because the fan in me, understands that a certain part of the country dominates college football, but the analyst in me knows you give a Bo Nix or a Michael Penix Jr. or, a Michigan team that's been there a couple of years a chance, they keep on knocking at the door. Y'all think people crazy now. Them Michigan fans rough, man. They think Charles Woodson on every team, even though he ain't. I am looking forward to see how it ends up, because for these last 3 or 4 games of the season are gonna have a lot to say about who gets in. But I just want to see the fight to the finish, because Florida State, they got to stay undefeated. Florida State can't afford no loss. They got to stay undefeated. Yeah. And they got to go to Charlotte and win. But I'm going to be intrigued to see.
It's going to be that. Doug, jump back in here, and I want to ask you, Frank in Germantown, will Ole Miss make the CFP, Doug, if they win out? And that's if they win out. They got a tough road, but they're sitting there at 7-1. You could say this is Lane Kiffin's best ever coaching job at Ole Miss.
Well, there's this. I don't want to turn this into a 3-week seminar on 3-way ties, but there's a scenario in which Alabama beats LSU, and you've got 3 teams, Alabama, LSU, and Ole Miss, that have one SEC loss, and it gets down to like the 6th or 7th tiebreaker scenario, and I think that will have to do with which of those 3 teams played the toughest out-of-conference schedule, maybe, or something like that. I think there's a above-average chance Ole Miss would be in, but the Ole Miss has got to make the SEC championship game in that scenario. There was a lot to unpack from Ben's great comments on Notre Dame. I'm actually a Notre Dame lover, Ben, only because I went to college in Indiana, grew up Catholic, so there's a little soft place in my heart. Also, Notre Dame had a habit under Coach Bryant of always beating Alabama, which didn't hurt my feelings during that era. But, by and large, people that aren't Notre Dame fans do not like Notre Dame. I think that what's behind that mostly is they feel like they get unreasonable support from the media, which is probably true, to which I would say, well, listen, any other program that had the ability to build a powerful national brand like that would do it. And, when you're in the SEC, you don't have to do that. All you have to do is win a particular year. So, but I think Notre Dame stays put. They'll be able to get $60 million plus from NBC or someone to have their own gig. And they'll be, when they have good years with only one loss, they will be one of those 6 at-large teams selected. You agree, Rob?
Yeah, I think they will. And go back to 1983. Francis, who covers Notre Dame closely for us when he can be on, that deal was 5 years, $50 million back then. You just referenced maybe $60 million a year from NBC going forward. And the thing is that, and Ben, I went to Christian Brothers High School, established in 1871 in Memphis by the LaSallian brothers. By the way, shout out, the oldest continuous high school band in these here United States of America. Unbelievable tradition. And the helmets at that school, gold. I mean, it's the purple and gold. But Notre Dame, you'll see fans of every school in the country. And if they're Catholic, they're also a Notre Dame fan. There is no other fan base in America like them. That's what's so crazy. And again, Ben, you talk about eyeballs and interest. Frank in Germantown, will Ole Miss make the playoffs? If they win, I think they will. But we'll throw this one at you. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but it helps your case. Now, no, Ole Miss would be sporting a win on the road over Georgia. That's pretty strong. So you're going to see Ole Miss if they're going to be pulling for LSU, obviously, because that would give them the head-to-head tiebreaker, and then they're going to be pulling for Auburn in the Iron Bowl. Ole Miss fans are.
Yeah. Well, throw this one out. Edward in Huntsville. CFP rankings are making fans more interested. 12 will be crazy. And this, as Tony Barnhart said on the show, even the adults can't screw up college football. It just, he's right. And Bill Hancock, again, people forget 19 years. This is what we talked about at media days. He's so accessible and so easy to talk to. He doesn't hide behind. You ask him a question, he'll tell you. And in full disclosure is everything. Well, look, I'm going to tell you, Ben, was it you or Doug a minute ago that made this reference to, don't tell us why you voted for him. Well, if you see an analyst on CNBC or Fox Business Channel talking about a particular company, you have to make full disclosure. If you're on the board of directors, if you own shares of the company, I like that, Ben and Doug. I think full disclosure. Hey, I'll admit I'm a graduate of Auburn University. I'm damn proud of it. But I'm going to be objective, and I'm probably harder on Auburn than I am any other school because they're my family. That's how I am. Just like you are with Florida, and Doug is with Auburn. And Doug is a great writer, and Ben, both of y'all are. But we work on being objective and fair. And Bill Hancock, every question we asked him, he answered.
Well, what's going to be fun in a chaotic way. Who's the Tim? Oh gosh, Rob. Who's the from Louisiana, the former SEC announcer?
Tim Brando.
Tim Brando, the great Tim Brando. He loved to talk about. He wanted there to be a fly in the ointment. He wanted chaos with the 4-team. First, he wanted it with the BCS, and for it to make everybody mad as hell that it's not working, so that you would expand to more teams. And now we've got 12 teams. I don't think we'll ever need more than a 12-team playoff, for heaven's sake. But I want to see the committee, if you could get them to be candid about how and why they vote. Will they use their eye test? Will they respect and value a defensive team? You've got that in Alabama right now, and there's a couple others. Maybe Georgia. Georgia plays pretty good offense lately, especially if they can get Bowers back. But, I've come to respect the way Alabama plays. Some of their fans are struggling to do that because they got spoiled with Tua and Bryce Young with all these high-octane offenses. But Alabama can just mash you when they're playing well. They suffocate you defensively, and then they just wait. They pick their spots to score. And that's what you saw in that Tennessee win, 27 unanswered points the second half. But they're not going to get style points offensively from a committee. So, if you get a scenario where a one-loss Alabama is going up against, 3 or 4 undefeated teams, how does the committee process that?
Ben?
Yeah, and the thing about it is, too, even get back to what you were saying, Rob, when you talk about, like, how people, like, break stuff down. Eye test means a lot of things, but it means something different to everybody. If I just watch the box score, I can tell you who did what. I can't tell you how they did it, but I can tell you that they did it. If I watch the game, I can tell you this. But it's like this. If I give somebody a bunch of data without context, that doesn't mean you got to give me context of what I'm looking at. And I think that's the thing about college football is you just said it, though, Doug, when you talk about Alabama. Alabama is the one team. They do not care how they win. They just want to win.
Yeah.
Alabama fans care about how it looks, right?
Yes.
But to Nick Saban just wants to win, and he's the only person that can win 60-0, and all he's going to talk about is what they didn't do. He is a perfectionist like you've never, ever seen. But when Nick Saban went home and said, all right, we just lost to Texas. He told us why. People are going to think we did. Watch what we do, though. We got a quarterback that's athletic, right? Super duper athletic. But you know what we did to him? We snatched him because he made a mistake. You don't do that. You can't take him out when it gets bad. Because I don't know who watched USF versus Alabama. That's the longest game I've ever seen. That game was so long. I was like, it was the longest drawn out. And if USF had an inkling of a pass game, just a little bit, I don't say they win, but they had a quarter. It was mirroring quarterbacks. That one was real tall for USF, and one was a little bit shorter for Alabama. But one had Alabama to say, "Hey, the coaches ain't gonna tell you this." They went to the sideline and said, "We will not lose to USF. I don't care if we got to threaten these refs. We won't lose." But that's the thing about Alabama. Since Nick Saban has been there, we've seen him do it. We've seen him do it with defense in the running game. Then we've seen him do it with defense in the passing game. Then we've seen him do it with wide open pass. He's won everywhere there is. That's why he goes, man, I've seen this before. But college football won't appreciate that. They won't look. They'll say Alabama lost to Texas. Okay. Alabama should have lost to Texas 2 years ago. Ewers gets hurt 2 years ago. They probably lose to him 2 years in a row. But resume, tradition, and I'm going to say this, head coaches will make the difference in who gets in. Who don't know who Nick Saban is, and Kirby Smart is, and Coach Day is, and Coach Harbaugh, when people say that kind of stuff don't matter, so why do they hire them? If who at the head coach don't matter, why does their name matter? Why is Harbaugh, who was suspended at the beginning of the season, now they're dealing with, you talking about stealing signals. You think Harbaugh is scared of that? He said, man, do you remember me in San Francisco? Do you think I care? I don't. Until you get me out of football, I'm gonna do. Nobody's gonna press the issue more than a Harbaugh does, right? And Harbaugh said, "I can take the flat." He said, "I got to play Ohio State, bro. I'm the only coach they've given this long, and I've been in Ohio. I've been in Michigan almost 10 years, and I've won 2 times. But it's what have you done for me lately? But I do think that when it comes down to it, I think that an SEC champion gonna get in. Because if the SEC champion don't get in, these other championship games definitely don't matter. If that one don't. But I do think when it comes down to it, there is no context when it's come to voting. See, that's the only. I said, give us context because it no longer. Not saying it's ever been this way, but the fans and the onlookers and the analysts, we know what we're looking at. Like we know how to evaluate. We know who's who. Right. And I think that's the thing is Dan Lanning and company don't got the same brand equity as a Florida State, as a Michigan, as an Ohio State, as a Georgia. Right. UW is a nice school, but it rains every day out there, I think. I don't even know what part of Washington they in. I know they got some real nice, they look real good.
They're on the lake. Yeah.
But I just think that at the end of the day, quarterbacks who in the Heisman race, that can help you get in. Now that can help you get in, but we have to see.
No, you're right. And look, Doug, I'm going to throw this one at you. Jerry Kirby, in my opinion, 12-team playoff is bad for college football. You won't see many big games like you do today. A lot more cupcake schedules in the future. Jerry's on the show with us sometimes. Very smart. He's a football genius, like a supercomputer. But tackle that question, Doug Dean in Birmingham.
Thank you. I like Jerry's question, and I think that I would break it down, unpack it as follows. He is right overall when you look at the out of conference scheduled games. But, if you just apply Jerry's point to the Southeastern Conference, when we expand to adding Oklahoma and Texas, when we go to 9 games, which is inevitable, maybe by 2025 would be my guess, nine SEC games, that is, to preserve traditional rivalries. And so that you have to play every team in the league over several years, then it would be unfair to be critical of LSU, Alabama, Auburn, Tennessee, Florida, the whole league, that they don't schedule some powerhouse on the other 3 out-of-conference games. Good grief. I think the TV people will be pretty damn happy with LSU versus Texas, Alabama, Oklahoma, Florida, and Georgia. I mean, it's going to be the most compelling games all year long. Prayers lifted for Vanderbilt and a couple others. I mean, you're going to have a hard slide trying to just stay relevant. But so Jerry's right, but I think it's just asking too much for those 3 out of conference games to be even tougher.
Yeah, you're talking now nationally. And again, I go back to comments made a year ago. Lee Fitting, director of programming, ESPN, Game Day and all that stuff. He said the challenge in the current college football landscape is in November. How do we keep the interest of fans in the SEC footprint in the Deep South? How do we keep them interested in games out west, like, Oregon State, Oregon, the Civil War, Washington State, the Apple Cup? How do we keep them interested in the games around the country? Well,
at 11 p.m. being played.
yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm telling you, and Ben, Buddy Martin asked this question. I think Doug was on the round table a couple of weeks ago on Saturday. He goes, how many of y'all, everybody raise your hand if you stayed up late last night and watched Colorado and Stanford? And everybody on the panel, all 5 of us, yes. He goes, that's amazing. And so, again, hey, Colorado's 4-4. They were 1-11 last year. Northwestern is 4-4. Is Northwestern getting any publicity at all this year? Not much outside of Chicago. But we know this, guys, the interest in college football, the numbers, I go back to this figure. Colorado State, the year-over-year comps, and I always look at earnings. I look at that every day for stocks. Y'all do too. 1.3 million people watched that game last year. This year, 9.6 million. Golly, man, eyeballs do matter. And I'll go back to something crazy. In 1971, Doug and Ben, I was talking to Buddy Davidson, former sports information director, rest his soul, at Auburn. I met him. This was like March of 1981. He said, Rob, back in the old days, 10 years earlier, for the Heisman, you'd go to New York before the season, to promote your candidate. He goes, and they put us in the interview room with Howard Cosell. And Howard Cosell, one of the great head rugs of all time, but he was a lawyer in New York. He said to Buddy Davidson, you think he knows everything? He goes, how is Pat Sullivan going to win the Heisman when he's at Auburn, a private school in Atlanta? He goes, well, Howard, Auburn's a state university located in Alabama. He goes, whatever. Ed Marinaro's got all the Eastern press at Cornell. Ben is right. And Doug, you remember, I've still got my Pat Sullivan jersey from 1970, and he autographed it. I can't fit into it, but I still have it, man. I carry that thing with me. I mean, it's a treasured item. My son wore it to the Auburn, Tennessee game and got on the Jumbotron in 2008, arguably the only Auburn game I've ever been to when both teams were so bad, both sets of fans left with bags on their heads. But anyway, I digress.
No, I mean, even the thing about how does the Pac-12, how does a certain part of the country get people to watch? I mean, Doug, I think you said the best. I mean, I even think you said the best too, Rob. Man, you got to win the art of perception. You know what Deion Sanders really does? You know why he's post? I'm gonna talk trash because everybody wants to see you lose then, but they want to see it. So Deion goes, look, we won one game last year, right? You see what happens? So he goes, hey, when I say something about my offensive line, I'm gonna wait till they have a game like that. Well, my son can't even get the ball off, right? So when I said we won one game, if I just bought a company that was negative in profit value the year before, I hope if you was working here last year, I hope you don't come up to me talking about, oh, we're gonna keep our job. It depends on your performance. All college football is perception and it's entertaining, right? There are people that used to fight Mike Tyson and thought, I can beat him. No, the hell you can't. You're gonna fight him. Have you seen him hit other people? Right? But at the same time, it's exciting. So I think with college football is you got to ask yourself, hey, there is only one Deion Sanders. No one has that much charisma. No one has that much intrigue, but everybody has access. Deion took his son and said, hey, we're going to give access like nobody's business. Not when the Pac-12 cameras come. We going to show it all. Walking to the meeting room, walking out, walking to the dining. And people go, don't nobody want to see that? That's what you thought. Yes, they do. Because if players want you to know who they – because let's call it what it really is. If you ask the average person, name somebody on Colorado not named Travis Hunter, Shadur, and Shiloh Sanders. You can't. I don't know nobody else. But Deion knows I want you to watch Colorado, and I think for these teams like Oregon State, you're going to have to get out of the dark years. Look, a couple of weeks ago, there was a gentleman, we had church. He's been married for 50 years. He said, people go, how can you be married for 50 years? He says, adapt and adjust. That's what he said. Me and my wife, we have to adapt. That's what they better do. You better learn how to adapt and adjust to what gonna get. And you just mentioned it, Rob. If you ain't getting eyeballs, no one knows what your product is. It's like, how many burger joints do you go to and say voted the top burger joint in the state? Who's gonna vote? But if somebody asks me, why would you say your burger is top? Because what? You think I'm gonna say somebody? Listen, Burger King got chicken sandwiches. You still gonna go to Chick-fil-A if you got the pick. Yeah. If you got the pick. But I just think that when it comes to these teams, some of these teams have very, 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 very like strong will with their way of doing things. And you will get left out. If I want to learn how to do branding, I'm calling Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones understands branding like nobody's been, to the point where it's like the Notre Dame model. It's like the Duke model. You either love them or you hate them. You don't in between them. When it comes to Dallas, you either love Cowboys or you cannot stand them. But that's branding because that means you want to watch them. I think for these teams that say, how do we get eyeballs? Because Greg Sankey already saying, and that's the commissioner of the SEC, for those of you who don't know, he got the best program in football right now. What you think you're going to get when you get Texas, Oklahoma? You got LSU and Oklahoma at a 1 o'clock kickoff. You got Alabama, Georgia at 4 o'clock, and you got Florida and Texas at who got, and that's a regular Saturday. I think that for these other conferences, they better get into the perception world, because do perception and reality match in college football? Absolutely not. It'll never match. Just go to Twitter, just go to social media, and just listen to the stuff, right? There are Kentucky fans that said this was our year. Based off of what? This is your year. Mark Stoops want to beat the hell out of John Calipari, because John Calipari says it's a basketball school, which it is. But I think that when you got it, and listen, Ole Miss has one loss, and nobody's talking about it. That's college. They have one loss. They got a shot to do something they've never done. Go to Atlanta for a football game. Because Ole Miss don't know nothing about that. And I hope they do it. But Ole Miss has Lane Kiffin. Georgia has Kirby Smart. So when it comes to these big-name coaches, check. Tradition-rich schools, check. Because guess what? Archie, Eli, and Peyton going to have to show up to the game in Atlanta. If Ole Miss goes, all of them got to be there. Arch might be there, and hell, he go to Texas. He might have to show up just because he's a Manning. But I just think that some of these coaches need to learn, man, we got to get into this perception world. Why?
Yeah.
Because we want to get people to be intrigued about. I've watched more Colorado games in 2023 than I've ever watched in my whole life because I know they're in Boulder, whatever that means. We're in Boulder. I don't even know what that means. But Deion Sanders knows I want you to either root for me or against me, root for me or against my players. But I bet you, man, ain't nobody, man, 10 o'clock at night on the East Coast, man, you're gonna hear a bunch of grown men sleep. They stand up trying to see what Colorado doing, and they ain't even Colorado fans or enthusiasts. So I think it's the perception world because the product is one thing, perception is the whole thing when it comes to college football. And if you can win that, I think that's because, like I said, if you told the average fan, not in Oregon, what's the Civil War? They're gonna give you American history. They're not gonna be talking about no. You see, so I think that's the part I think that a certain part of the country gonna have to understand when it comes to college football. You don't have enough prestige to not win this perception game because the 12-team playoff, yes, it's bad for college football, but it also gets more eyes. It's a money grab. It's a chance to get a bunch of people watch a bunch of games, and the same team gonna end up winning it no matter. It's the NCAA tournament version of college football, basically.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. I mean, hey, turning down his hearing aid probably helps Ben's friend that's been married for 60 years. I mean, my parents are coming up on 65. Their deal was always whoever left first had to take the kids. So anyway, let me say something real quick about one of our sponsors, Red River Ford Toyota, Wynne, Arkansas. Just know this, RedRiverFordToyota.com. A lot of my friends have bought cars, trucks, and SUVs over there. They also use their service department. They have a great service department. It's open Saturdays as well, 7 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Got a big waiting room. Watch TV in there and visit. They have a great staff. John Dobbs Jr. from Memphis, the Dobbs family, is part of the Red River Auto Group with Mitch Ward. No vehicle payments until January of 24 if you buy a new vehicle right now. Proud to have them as a sponsor, as well as ECS House Industries. Check them out on our website located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas. All the aerators that you see on these catfish farms, they make most of them. So proud to have them on here. Proud to have this debate. And Doug Dean, jump back in here because Felix in Meridian, Mississippi, Lauderdale County, regional bias is real. SEC has 20 national championships since 1970. The Big Ten has 2.5. Doug Dean, take this one on.
And you know what? I've talked about this. Remind me before I sign off, Rob, to mention Alex McPherson, Auburn's kicker.
Yeah.
Is 8 of 8 on the year. Get your crack staff to look up. Has there ever been a field goal kicker with, say, a minimum of 12 to 15 kicks who was perfect for the year? And I hope I'm not jinxing Alex, but he's got a chance. I don't think Freeze is going to ask him to kick a 62-yarder unless it's for a walk-off win in the Iron Bowl or something crazy like that.
Yeah.
But back to your question, I think when you look at how the Big Ten has expanded, adding these cross-country flights, there are going to be a handful of recruits who were on the fence between, let's say, USC and Alabama or some SEC team. And what it may come down, the tiebreaker may be, I don't feel like dealing with the fatigue of all these cross-country flights when I'm playing college football. Maybe I'm crazy to think that. And again, I'm not saying it'll be a large number of recruits, but it's one of those factors that the Big Ten is kind of disadvantaging itself potentially.
Yeah. I mean, you think about the Oregon, Washington, Southern Cal, UCLA, you would recruit kids and say, hey, you'll be able to drive and see them. Ben, go back to your days. I mean, you didn't go to Georgia. A lot of people would like for you to have gone there. Now that I know you, I wish you'd have gone to Auburn with your teammate Carlos Rogers. But anyway, recruiting, your family, everybody wants to see you. Doug's on to something. The Big Ten better be careful with this one because the Mountain West or whatever the Pac-12 morphs into is going to be able to say, well, look, stay out here. It's easier to see. And also I predict in 3 to 5 years, there's going to be a movement, maybe sooner, to say college football, you can make it a national game, but the teams, all the non-revenues or basketball and everything else, we're going to just stay in the old conferences. There could be a move back to that. But again, We don't know, but let's talk about that recruiting thing that Doug just mentioned.
Yeah, what the thing about recruiting is it's only sophisticated to the people that's actually grown men that's going around trying to get these young men. It's not coincidental that boys from the South play football in the South. Yeah, you're gonna have a couple of us go north, may go out west, but look, most of us ain't never even seen the whole state we live in, let alone I gotta go where? And it's like college gives you culture because you get to see the world through because of what you're doing. But the first flight, the only reason why I ever got on a plane was because I got recruited. My first flight was supposed to be to North Carolina State. I'm living in Augusta, Georgia. My flight left at 7:20. I got to the airport at like 7:15. I think I'm finna walk straight in and get on the plane. When that lady said, "What time is your 7:20?" She turned me. Now Georgia, I mean, it's gotten a little bigger since then. She turned me around and showed me. Let me tell you what happened in that regard. I was happy that I didn't get on that plane because, like anybody else, when my first flight, I was thinking, well, hell, I ain't gonna make it no way because this flight's going down. So when I do get on the plane, it's gonna crash anyway. I didn't want to get on that plane, but I'm a country boy from Swainsboro, Georgia, that was blessed enough to move to Augusta, Georgia, and I tell you this all the time. It's easy to go to a big city when you're from one. It's hard to survive in one when you're not. The biggest culture shock is just surviving away from home. You know how many kids go to Tallahassee and don't know it's the capital? They think the capital of Florida is Miami. No, the capital is on the Panhandle. So when you start talking about, I want to have these kids go cross country, I thank God every day that I play for Florida. You think I'm looking forward to a Florida Texas game at a 4:00 kickoff? No, but that's what's about to happen. And just excluding football for a second, football is going to get the best. Chartered flights, they leave when they want to leave, they come back when they want to come back. What about softball? What about volleyball? What about golf? The teams that, because think about this, and I can say this now, if you're not a revenue-generating sport, you get treated fairly, not equally. It is not equal by no stretch of the imagination. So I get that it's a money grab. It's always going to be a money grab. But to them spring sports, they going to suffer dearly because what happens is, UCLA, UCLA got an 8:00 kickoff on the, against a team on the East Coast, and they got the fly. It's going to be a lot. It really, really is. But once again, when we had the AD from ULM on, Rob, we was talking about these people that's making decisions, how connected are they to the college athletics? And the problem is they're not. And that's the problem. When you getting people to make decisions who only understand revenue, they don't understand who's generating it and what it takes to do it. That's what I have a problem with, because at the end of the day, the student athlete experience is supposed to be the greatest there is. And most players ain't even going to get out there. But if we played Arkansas my senior year. Now, that's the first time we ever had to deal with Central Time. They telling us, y'all got a 1:00 kickoff. I said, yeah, but right here say 12 o'clock. No. Yeah, that's Eastern time. I said, Coach, don't do this to us. We don't know nothing about no Central, no Midwest. But we played them early enough to get back. We played them early enough to get back to Gainesville and have, I'm going to say this, a life. We got to get back early enough to Gainesville to say, wait a minute, we already played. We got the rest of our Saturday. Because when Deion said, do you like it or are you in like with it? Yeah, I don't got to be in love with football because you are coach. You also getting paid millions of dollars. I like playing football. I love the competitiveness of it. Was I in love with football? No. Am I? What? No. I'm in love with my family, and you like your lady and your friends and your family. But when people start saying you trying to make players be in love with this game, no. Yeah. And that's the unfortunate part of saying. Look at the only players that come from the West Coast to the East Coast. You notice, you know what they have in common? They play quarterback. Bryce Young played quarterback. Yeah. DJ Uiagalelei played quarterback but they the glamour position, and they using these quarterbacks before them to get there. Keenan Allen, I think, is from North Carolina. He went to Cal. That's rare to get a kid from that part of the country to go to it, because I want my family to see me play. Rob, as you mentioned, man, it's like if you having kids, if they play the sport. If they play in Hawaii, you're thinking, dang, That's a nice school, but son, it's gonna be hard to see them play. You got the vacation out there just to see your kid play.
Yeah. I mean, Doug, you remember the days when I think Bobby Lee Hurt was out of Huntsville being recruited to Alabama by Wimp Sanderson. He and all these guys would take that visit to Hawaii. I don't think Hawaii's ever made the NCAA basketball tournament, but back in the old unlimited visit days, Doug, this is great. I like this Monster Mash, who that is, in Macon, Georgia. This is a sports version of Crossfire. Love the discussion of college football, but you're getting it real, Doug. I got a few minutes left. Billy Roberts was going to join us. Shocking news here. Perry Mason won his case, and Billy's at the doctor's office, and they're running behind. So that never happens, does it, Doug?
I'll tell you, we've been sort of in and around it, I'll let Ben react. This is the most compelling and uncertain November in the SEC we've had in a long time. Now, some people will say, no, it's not. It's going to be Alabama and Georgia again. It might, but Alabama's flawed, and Georgia gets to play an unexpectedly tougher November than we thought. Ben?
Yeah, I agree. When the preseason schedules came out, people thought, okay, Georgia's just going to have another undefeated season because of who they was playing. We look at two things. We look at your team and we look at your opposing team and who they don't play. But Ole Miss is proven to be really, really good. We'll see if Joe Mixon got one great game left in him in Knoxville against them dogs, because I think the thing about it is give LSU credit, give Ole Miss a lot of credit, give Alabama a lot of credit, right? Somewhere there's a school, named Texas A&M is thinking, what the hell is going on with us? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with Texas A&M. And here's another thing. Who told Missouri to be good this year? What are they got Georgia, right? So, and isn't it crazy? We go from saying we want our team to be good to want to dethrone the best team. Hey man, let's do it for college football. But this November is going to be intriguing for a lot of reasons. A lot of playoff implications are on the line. I mean, my Florida guys got Florida State at home. We've seen them play better at home than we do on the road. We'll see what happens with them. But I think that's what makes college football intriguing. We go into the season, we do the same thing everybody else do. We look at the schedule and go, they're going to go this, they're going to go that. And then the season goes different and go, wait a minute. Lane Kiffin doesn't get enough credit for what he's meant to Ole Miss. He has been lights out. Lane Kiffin has done as good as a job as Steve Spurrier did when he was at South Carolina, when he went 11-2, 11-2, 11-2. No, they didn't win a national championship. But what they know about winning 11 games at Columbia? They did it 3 years in a row. I think for Ole Miss, if they could do the unthinkable and go to Atlanta, they will be the most dangerous team left in college football, because when nobody's watching you and you good, you get real dangerous when everybody's watching you because you built that confidence. But I do agree, Doug. I'm looking forward to November. I think November going to be – I think November got a shot to be really, really great for certain teams and really, really disappointing for others.
And don't leave Mizzou out of this excitement.
Oh, yeah. Listen. The weirdest coach – listen, the most intriguing coach in college football is in Boulder. The weirdest coach in college football is in Manhattan, Missouri. His name is Eli Drink, which he is weird as hell, but he can coach football. The man can coach because he's nowhere in the SEC, but that's the conference he gets to play.
Well, and he wears a blue and white seersucker suit to media days. He's a trip. But here's something interesting. And Doug, you nailed it. Talking about Missouri, when they were winning those close games early in the season, and we've all played on team sports, we've all worked in business. When you go through a lot and then you succeed, you get closer every single day. And we talked about this, the Georgia schedule. It's easy when you're sitting on your ass in a beach chair down at Grayton Beach or Orange Beach or, Sea Island, reading a football magazine, drinking a cold beer, frozen daiquiri, whatever, and you go, oh, we'll go undefeated. It's different when you start playing these teams because, they all want to win too. And this Missouri story, look, they're kind of out there by themselves, but they're really not. They're in between Kansas City and St. Louis, two of the greatest sports towns in America. That's what makes this so much fun, Doug and Ben.
If I'm Eli, I'm sitting out there getting my team ready, but in the back of my mind, I'm saying, thanks a lot, selection committee, putting Georgia number 2. Now Kirby gets to do his fake as hell, no respect no respect speech for at least a few more games.
Yeah, I was going to say, someone sent a comment in. I'm trying to find. There's a bunch of them on here, but the look. Let's face it. I like this. John in Columbus, Georgia, the Bi-Cities. I think Kirby will use the number 2 ranking like he always does. Mizzou's going to be the 26th straight win. I go back 10 years ago, 2013, October 5th of 2013. I remember I was down at the beach for fall break with 7 kids and me. And I was watching some football. That was Gary Pinkel and their second year in the SEC, 2013. They ended up playing Auburn for the championship. And in 2014, they played Alabama. They have had success, guys, before in Columbia. And Eli Drinkwitz, he's from Alma, Arkansas, right by Fort Smith, right before you turn off to go to Fayetteville. He's kind of weird, kind of eccentric, but he was 12-1 in his 1 year at App State. Guys, this November is exactly why next year everybody in the top 25 will be saying, so you're saying there's a chance we can make the 12-team playoff, guys. Doug, I love it.
Yeah, and you're talking about Eli being eccentric. That's for some minds, football minds in this case, that's a close first or second cousin of genius.
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes a really off-centered kind of mind. Gus Malzahn was that way. It takes one of those guys to put a plan together to throw a curveball at the giant for David to knock off Goliath. And that's how Gus Malzahn was able to beat Alabama at their peak a couple of years, because he would call plays and run an offense in a way that you just really couldn't scout. It made no sense. And the fact that it made no sense or was high risk is why it worked when you're trying to take down a giant. Yeah.
Nothing to lose. I mean, they don't tell the David and Goliath story right. They'll just say, "Hell, here's a dude named David. He just came and he just dethroned Goliath." No. He wasn't even there to do that. He was there to bring his brother some food and some different stuff. And he goes, "Hey, man, who the hell is that?" "Oh, that's the Goliath, man. That's the one that everybody here to fight. We ain't fighting him. I ain't scared of him. What you mean? Man, I had to fight lions and tigers and bears to get sheep back out their mouth. You see how big his head is? I couldn't miss his head." And I think that's the thing, right? If you realize, Eli Drinkers realize, if I lose, that's what everybody does to Alabama and Georgia. Well, what happens when we win? App State against Michigan. They show App State against Michigan every 5 years when they beat them. But that just shows that the parity in college football was changing. Eli Drinkers coaching at App State understand that, hey, man, I want to coach in the Southeast, so I got ties in the South. That way, when I get these kids to come, to Mizzou, I gotta tell them one thing. Two things. Do you have a big coat? Have you ever seen snow? Because you're gonna need both, and you're gonna see both. I just like it because at the end of the day, college football is the one sport that Cinderella, she can get a slipper. Like they can really win it. Now they ain't gonna make it easy for them, right? I know we got Disney movies about teams that beat Kentucky back in the day, right? It can happen in basketball, what I'm saying, but football is one of the ones to say, I need to have a coach crazy enough to think that he can really do it. I want him to answer questions that I don't think he's being serious, but he is. Like, you really think you can beat? Yeah. Seriously? And to me, that's where it starts. When you get a coach, Eli Drinkwitz, I didn't like him because he used to beat my Florida Gators, and Dan Mullen didn't realize, Dan Mullen, you weird. That's a weirdo. The two are not the same thing. Eli Drinkwitz is a weirdo, but he embraces it in a way. So watch out for the Missouri boys, though.
Yeah, we've run out of time. Doug Dean, AU Dose, Birmingham, Ben Troupe, ESPN Coastal over in Savannah. At least it's warm there. It is cold up here. I think it got to 29 last night, early this morning. Great discussion. I hope, Billy, you're okay. The doctor will see you sometime today, like Larry the Cable Guy. I'll be there twixt 1 and 7 in the morning. But I think this is what we love about college football. It just never stops. The intrigue and again, the craziness and just that the number 12 team, the number 13 team will be the team that should have been. That's what we love, always keeping that carrot out in front. Most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. We're all blessed in ways. Ben, Doug, we all are. Go out and make a positive impact every day among the people you're around. Kind words, kind deeds, follow through. Great show. Thanks to all of our listeners, our sponsors, viewers, everybody. Check us out always on social media, sidelines.live, Twitter and Facebook, YouTube, everywhere. Great show. We'll see you tomorrow. We are out of here. Good night.
Here you
Good
go.
morning.